I got an email from my manager, Chris, in the city office. The email said my claimed hours and my real time didn't match. The new rule said I'd to match the job time exactly. I felt like my skill became a problem. I felt like I was punished because I worked smart. I knew the clients were still billed for the full time. I knew the extra time value didn't vanish. You can see why I felt confused. You can see why I felt shocked. You can see why I asked myself, why am I paying the price for being good? You can see why I felt my trust break. You can see why I felt my work had changed. You can see why I felt my effort wasn't seen. You might think I should just slow down. You might think I should just follow the new rule. You might think I shouldn't care. But you wouldn't know how I felt. You wouldn't know how much I gave. You wouldn't know how I built my days around doing the right thing. You wouldn't know how I felt when my own success became the reason for my stress. My coworker Mike looked at me after reading the email, and he said, "Roy, they don't want you to work faster anymore." After the truth came out, I kept my notes close. I'm Roy, and I was a field service technician for over 5 years. I worked on site repairs, and I was the person people called when the job needed care. I kept my badge, my job records, and my own notes because I wanted the facts. You can trust me because I saw the work, I did the work, and I lived the work. I'm not here to make wild claims. I'm here to share what I saw. You can hear my side, and you can see why this mattered to me. When I started, I thought I found a great job. I was excited and I felt lucky. I had a team that helped me and I had people who taught me. I liked the work, the feeling when I fixed a hard issue and when a client smiled and thanked me. I liked that my speed helped the team. I liked that my effort had value. You could see the pride in my work and you could see the care I gave. I remember my first training video. I watched the video, I learned the steps, and I followed the rules. The video showed the right way to help people. I kept that idea with me. I wanted to do the job the right way and for the team to win. I wanted my work to mean something. My coworker Mike was one of the first people who helped me. You could ask Mike, and he'd tell you I cared. I showed up early, I stayed focused, and I gave my best. The job wasn't perfect, but I felt good about it. I had my steady pay, my skills, and my place on the team. You might think a job like this would only bring good things. I thought that too. I believed the people around me saw my effort. I believed the rules were fair. I believed the system worked for people like me. I kept my badge in my truck, I kept my tools ready, and I kept my work clean. You can imagine how much I valued that. I didn't just have a job. I had a role I was proud of. I had a team I trusted and a future I thought I could build. After the truth came out, I started to watch the small things more closely. I was still doing my job, but I felt the air around me change. I noticed little signs that made me stop and think. My manager, Chris, didn't say, "You're doing a great job." Instead, I got more notes about time, hours, and numbers. I remember thinking, why is my speed now a problem? You could feel the shift. The team still needed good work, but I felt like the old way was slowly fading. I kept my head down, but I watched the cracks grow. I knew something was different because the trust I had wasn't the same anymore. The first big sign came during a morning team call. I was sitting in my truck before my first job when Chris gave a new instruction. He said, "From now on, your job time and your claim time need to match. Don't finish early and leave extra time unused." I remember looking at my tools and feeling confused. I asked, "So if I fix the issue faster, what should I do?" Chris paused and said, "Just make sure the numbers line up." That one sentence stayed in my mind. It felt like a warning that I didn't want to see. I started to notice more small changes after that as my old flat rate work was gone in practice. I still had the same jobs, the same clients, and the same goals, but the way I worked felt different. I felt like I had to slow down because my skill was now something I had to hide. I wasn't trying to cheat the system. I was trying to help the team. I was trying to finish my work well. I remember one job that showed me the change. The repair should take 2 hours. I finished the hard part in about 40 minutes because I knew the steps. Before, I felt proud. This time, I looked at the clock and wondered what I was supposed to do. I sat there, checked my notes, and waited. I thought, this is strange. I'm being told to not be too good. My coworker Mike saw it too. He said, "Roy, this doesn't feel right. They want the clock, not the work." I laughed a little, but I knew he was right, and the small red flags were adding up. It wasn't one huge moment. It was a lot of tiny moments that made me ask, what's really happening here? It was during the next week when I saw something that made me feel even more lost. I checked my job notes, my time logs, and my client records. I wanted to believe the new rule was just a mistake. I wanted to believe Chris and the team had a good reason, but I saw my coworker Mike get blamed for a number that wasn't his fault. I knew I had to look closer because I could see the cracks grow. The next morning, I found a job report with the time changed. My name wasn't on it, but I knew the job and my work. I knew my notes. The repair time looked longer than my real time. I asked Chris about it. I said, "Why does this number look different?" Chris looked at me and said it was just a small update. I felt my stomach drop. I knew small changes could hide big problems. I knew my coworker was taking the heat for something he didn't do. Have you ever seen a moment when a small lie starts to become a big problem? Have you ever watched the numbers change, the story change, and the people stay quiet? Have you ever felt like you wanted to ask the truth, but you knew the room wouldn't like your question? If you know the strange feeling I kept watching the reports and I kept my own notes. I saw the same pattern again. The team was told to fix issues fast, but the numbers had to match a different story. I saw Mike get called out in a team chat. I saw my manager say the report was wrong because Mike entered the time wrong. I knew that wasn't fair. I knew what happened because I was there. I saw the work, job, and real time, so I checked my notes again because I wanted the facts. I checked my records because I wanted you to see what I saw and know I wasn't guessing. I was watching my own work. I was seeing the same things you'd notice. You could feel my concern. I knew my trust was falling. I wanted you to understand my side. The weird part was how normal everyone acted. I felt like the room was pretending nothing happened, so I had to stay calm and watch. I didn't know how far the issue would go, but I knew the problem was getting bigger. The little signs were no longer just strange. They were the start of something that felt clearly wrong. After the truth started to feel real, I kept my eyes open and my notes closed. I checked my records, my job logs, and my old files. I knew I needed facts because my work mattered. You could feel the room change and see the small signs. I was watching, I was waiting, and I was trying to understand why my team felt so quiet. I wanted the truth and my proof. So one morning, I found an email sitting in the wrong place. I saw my manager's message sitting where it shouldn't be. I looked at the screen and I felt my stomach turn. I didn't open it fast or rush. I checked the name, the time, and the file path. You know a feeling when you see something you weren't meant to see. You can feel your hands get cold and your mind start to race. I knew this wasn't a normal work mistake. I knew my next steps had to be careful. The next day, I found an unlocked folder on the shared drive. I saw the folder name, my team records, and the old reports. I clicked slowly and looked at the files. I saw a spreadsheet left open on a desk near the office printer. The lights were low and the chairs were empty. The air felt still. The screen glow filled the small space. My eyes stayed on the numbers while my hands stayed near my keyboard. I felt the weight of every second. You could imagine the tension, fear, and silence around me. I kept my focus and notes while looking at the details. I kept my eyes on the page because I knew my job and my name were tied to those numbers. I checked my thoughts because I wanted you to see what I saw. I felt my own doubt, but I trusted my notes. You could see why I stayed calm. You could see why I kept my records. I knew my search was growing, and you'd feel the same if you were in my place. I knew my mind was ready. You knew my concern was real. I didn't know it yet, but my small discovery was about to reveal a hidden problem that had grown inside the company for years. I was about to see why the numbers, the files, and the rules weren't telling the full story. You'd soon understand why my search mattered. After the truth hits me, I'm frozen in front of the screen. I'm not moving or speaking, only looking at the line in the file again and again. My hands are cold and my heart is racing. I read the same sentence 5 times, but my brain still feels stuck. I know the words are there and what I see, and I know this isn't just a small mistake. I'm sitting there with the screen light on my face, and I feel the weight of knowing. You know feeling when you hope you're wrong, but every detail says you're right. You want the answer to be different, but the facts stay the same. I look at my notes, the numbers, and the dates. I check the files one more time because I need to be sure. I'm not trying to start a fight. I'm trying to understand what's happening around me. My first thought is simple, and I think, what do I do now? I don't rush, close the file, or make a loud call. I just sit there and let the moment happen. I feel the fear, the shock, and the pressure all at once. The first hour after finding the truth feels strange. I'm still in the same room, but everything feels different. The desk looks the same. The computer looks the same. The job feels different. I save the file again and take a screenshot because I need my own copy. I write notes because I need to remember what I saw and when I saw it. I send the information to myself because I want a safe place for the facts. I check my email, folder, and notes after sending it. You can imagine how my mind keeps running. I know the next step matters, but I'm not there yet. I'm still in this quiet moment. I'm still holding the truth in my hands. You might think finding proof feels like winning, but it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels heavy. It feels like carrying something I cannot put down. I know my work, my name, and my future are tied to this. I know I cannot pretend I didn't see it. The truth is sitting right in front of me, and now I have to live with knowing it. After the truth hit me, I was still frozen in front of the screen. I looked at my notes, and I held my copy of the file closed. I knew the weight of knowing was now mine, and I couldn't act like I didn't see it. You know the feeling when you find something that changes how you see the place around you? I sat there, and I asked myself, what do I do now? I felt the fear in my chest and my hands shake. I felt my mind run fast because I wanted the easy answer, but I knew the truth wasn't easy. I knew I had to think and stay calm. You might think finding proof feels good and that I felt like I won, but I didn't feel that way. I felt the pressure and weight. I felt like I was holding a secret that was too big. I had my job, my name, and my future on the line. I knew one wrong move could change everything for me. I looked at the file again and checked my notes and the dates. I told myself, I need to be sure. I wanted you to understand why I moved slow. I wanted you to see why I didn't run to my boss. I wanted you to feel the moment I felt. The hardest part was the silence. I was around people I trusted. I was around my team. I was around my coworkers, but I felt alone. I knew the people around me might want to hear what I found. I knew my words could create a storm. I knew my choice could affect my work. Have you ever known something so big you were afraid to whisper it to your own family? Have you ever held the truth and wondered if you should keep it hidden? I think you know fear and heavy feeling. I kept my notes, copy, and thoughts safe. I didn't know what would happen next. I only knew I had the truth in my hands. I knew I couldn't forget what I saw and that the moment changed me. The strange thing was, I still had to wake up, put on my badge, and do my job. I still had to smile and act normal, but I wasn't the same Roy anymore. I was carrying the weight of knowing, and I knew the next choice would matter. After the truth sat in my hands, I knew I had to make a choice. I was still Roy, the same worker with my tools, my badge, and my notes, but I felt a new fire inside me. I knew I could stay quiet, or I could speak. I looked at the file, I looked at my records, and I asked myself, what would you do if you were me? I went home and talked with my wife. I told her everything I saw, everything I saved, and everything I feared. I said, I don't want to hurt my job, but I don't want to hide the truth. My wife looked at me and said, Roy, you know what you saw. You know what's right. Her words hit me hard. I knew she was right, and I knew my choice mattered. I spent the night thinking. I walked around the house, I checked my notes, and I felt the weight of the moment. I knew the next step could change my life. I knew the easy and safe way was to stay silent and act like nothing happened. But I also knew I wouldn't respect myself if I stayed quiet. The next morning, I called a lawyer I trusted for advice. I sat in my car before the call, and I held my phone in my hand. I felt nervous, but I knew I needed help. I told the lawyer, I found records that don't match the real work. I want to protect myself, and I want to do the right thing. The lawyer asked me what I wanted. I said, I want the truth to matter. I want my voice to count. That was the moment I stopped being only a silent witness and decided I'd stand. I knew I was scared, but I also knew I was ready. You can imagine the feeling. You can feel the fear, the pressure, and the hope. I felt all it too. I knew my choice was bigger than my fear. I looked at my notes one last time and told myself, I can't ignore this anymore. That line became my turning point. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was trying to be honest. I wanted you to understand why I moved forward and made the choice I made. I knew the truth was heavy, but I also knew I had to carry it. The moment was finally here, and I knew I couldn't go back. After the choice came, I knew I had to move. I was scared, but I felt ready. I looked at my files, my notes, and my proof. I told myself I couldn't hide the truth. I knew I needed a safe plan, and I knew you'd understand why I moved slow. I started with my own backup. I copied the files to a USB drive. I saved my records, my job notes, and the reports. I put the USB drive in a locked cabinet at home. I also kept a printed folder in my car trunk. I wanted my facts and proof safe and wanted you to see I was careful. I didn't run into the office, yell, or make a scene. I stayed calm because I knew the next steps mattered. I called a lawyer from my car before work. I held my phone, my notes, and my fear. I told the lawyer what I found. I said I wanted help, and I wanted to protect my work. The lawyer listened, asked me to keep the facts clear, and I wrote more notes. I checked the dates, files, and numbers. I knew my story had to be true. I wanted you to know I wasn't guessing. I was using the proof I'd. Then I made another choice. I contacted a journalist. I didn't know how the talk would go, but I knew the truth needed a voice. I shared my basic story and asked what steps I should take. I felt my heart race, but I felt a strange hope too. Have you ever held the truth in your hands and felt the fear grow while you tried to stay calm? Have you ever made one small choice because you knew your heart wanted to do the right thing? Have you ever looked at a hard road and still picked the path that matched your own values? I know you may wonder why I didn't stay quiet. I know you may think I could lose my job. I know you may think the risk was too high. But I knew my choice mattered, but I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was trying to be honest and respect my own values. I was trying to show you that one person can make a choice. I knew the fear was real, but I knew the truth was real too. I placed the printed folder back in my car trunk. I checked my USB drive again and looked at my notes one last time. I knew I started the first step. I knew I couldn't go back to the old me. It was during the next morning when I saw the first sign that my choice had a cost. I kept my notes close, and I knew my next move could change my life. I was ready, but I was also scared, and you can imagine my fear and thoughts. I wanted you to see why I moved slow and feel the pressure I felt. I checked my files, copies, and records again and told myself I did the right thing. I knew my lawyer could guide me, and I wasn't looking for a fight but for help. I wanted my voice heard, and I wanted the truth safe. Then the new problem came when I got a message from HR. The email said the company wanted to talk about my performance concerns. I looked at the screen and I felt the room get cold. I knew the timing wasn't random. You'd feel the same if you were me. You'd ask why the warning came after I saved the files. I called my lawyer again and told my lawyer, I think the company knows I found something. I kept my words and facts ready. I knew my choice was serious. You can understand why I felt nervous and checked my phone and my notes again and again. The fear was real, but the need for truth was bigger. But I also saw a new ally step in. A former employee contacted me. They said they saw the same strange reports years before. I listened, and I knew my story wasn't only my story. You can feel the moment when you learn you aren't alone. You can feel the hope when someone says, I saw it too. The support gave me the strength to face the next day. I sat in my car after the call. I held my phone, my folder, and my thoughts. I knew the road ahead was hard. You might think I should stop or hide, but I knew I had to keep going. I knew my truth, my proof, and my reason. You can see why this was my real turning point. I wasn't just protecting my job anymore. I was protecting the truth I found and the people who deserve the truth. After the choice became clear, I knew I had to stop waiting. I looked at my notes, my files, and my records. I knew I couldn't keep this truth inside my head. I knew my next move mattered, and although I was scared, I also felt a new kind of strength. I told myself, I'm not trying to destroy my job. I'm trying to stand by what I saw. I opened my laptop, and I checked the documents one more time. I checked my dates, my reports, and my job logs. I wanted you to know I was careful and that I wasn't guessing. I wanted you to understand why I moved slow. The truth was important to me, and I knew the facts had to be clear. I made the report, wrote my words down, and explained the work, the time, and the changes I saw. I didn't add stories that weren't true. I didn't try to make the company look bad. I just shared the facts I put my name on the report because I knew my voice had value. I remember my hand shaking when I clicked send. I looked at the screen and I felt the weight of the moment. Feeling when you know there's no way back? I felt that. I knew the easy and safe path was to stay quiet and ignore the problem, but I also knew I wouldn't feel right if I did nothing. I sent my documents, saved my own copies, and kept my records safe because I knew my story mattered. I wasn't chasing fame or looking for a fight. I was looking for the truth and a fair answer. I was looking for respect for the work I gave. You might ask me, Roy, why take that risk? My answer is simple. I spent years giving my best and helping the team. I spent years doing the job the right way. I couldn't watch the truth get pushed away and pretend I was fine. I sat back after I finished and I took a deep breath. I knew my choice was made and my report was real. I knew my documents told my side and I was still nervous but felt proud too. I finally stopped hiding what I knew. That was my turning point. I was no longer just a worker who noticed the problem. I was the person who chose to speak. I was the person who chose my values over my fear. You can understand why that moment changed me. I knew I'd taken the first real step. After the truth reached the outside world, I was sitting in a quiet room with my notes in front of me. I looked at my files, my old badge, and the records I saved. I knew my life at Northridge Systems was about to change. You can imagine how I felt because I wasn't the same Roy anymore. I was still me, but I had the weight of the truth on my shoulders. You could see the fear in my face, and I could feel the pressure in my chest. The first real moment came when I joined the Zoom call with investigators. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. My hands were shaking a little, but I stayed calm. I told them my story, my work history, and the facts I found. I showed my notes, my job logs, and the reports. I wanted you to understand that I wasn't guessing, but sharing what I saw. The investigators asked me about the time changes, job records, and new rules, and I answered every question I could. I remembered the days, the calls, and the talks with my manager, Chris. I told him how the system changed and how my pay dropped. I told him how I felt while my hard work became the problem. You know, feeling when you do your best and still feel blamed? I felt that every day. A few weeks later, I sat in the deposition room. I wore my best shirt, carried my folder, and prepared my words. I knew the questions would be hard. I knew people would look at my choices. I knew my name was connected to the story, but I also knew my facts. I looked at the lawyers, took a breath, and answered. They asked me why I kept records. I said, because I needed the truth. I needed my own proof. I told them I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was trying to explain what happened. You can understand why I needed my voice and protected my work. When I left the company, I changed a lot. I wasn't the same worker who only focused on the next job. I learned to trust my own judgment. I learned that the small choices I make can matter. I still think about my old team and the people who stayed quiet. I know the situation was bigger than one person. Now, when I look back, I see the full cost of that time. I lost my old routine, people I trusted, and the simple feeling of going to work without worry, but I gained a clearer view of my own values. I know what I saw. I know what I lived. You can hear my story and see why the moment changed me forever. After the first reports moved outside my team, I felt the pressure grow fast. I knew my choice changed my work life, and I knew the company didn't know what was coming yet. I was still walking into the office, still wearing my badge, and still doing my job. You can imagine my fear because I had the truth, but I had no idea how the company would react. I saw my manager, Chris, act normal. I saw the same smiles, the same talks, and the same meetings. But I felt the air change around me. I knew the company was watching my steps. I knew my name was now connected to the files. You can feel the stress when you know your every move matters. I felt it every day as the first consequence came when my work checks became harder. I got more questions about my hours, my jobs, and my choices. I knew the questions weren't random. You know feeling when you see a pattern start? I saw the pattern, so I kept my answers simple and my notes safe. I watched the team change too. The people I trusted looked nervous. I saw my coworkers stop talking in the hall. I saw the quiet moments grow. You could feel the fear in the room. I knew people wanted answers, but I knew the company still believed it could control the story. My pay was already lower and my stress was much higher. I was doing the same work, but the job felt different. I had my tools, my skills, and my experience, but I felt like the company saw me as a problem. You might think I'd feel angry every second, but I felt more worried about what would happen next. I checked my records, my emails, and my files again. I knew the facts and my future mattered. You can understand why I stayed careful. I didn't want the company to twist my words. I wanted my side clear. The strange part was this: the company still thought I had time. The company still thought I was just one worker asking questions. They didn't see the full picture or know how much I'd saved. They didn't know who else was paying attention. I went home each day with my thoughts racing. I looked at my family, my notes, and my old routine. I knew my simple job had become something much bigger. You can feel how heavy that was for me. I wasn't just dealing with a pay cut anymore. I was dealing with the cost of knowing the truth. After the truth reached the right people, I felt the world around me change fast. I was still Roy, but I knew my job wasn't the same. I had my badge, my tools, and my notes, but I also had the pressure of knowing the facts were out. You can imagine my fear because I didn't know what the company would do next. You can feel the stress when you know your name is now part of the story. I walked into the office and I saw the same faces, the same desks, and the same daily work, but I felt the room was different. I felt the eyes on me. I felt the quiet talk stop when I walked by. You know, feeling when you enter a room and something feels wrong? I had that feeling every day. The first big change came from my manager, Chris. I got more questions about my hours, my jobs, and my reports. I looked at the emails, and I saw the focus move from my work to my numbers. I knew the timing was strange. You'd notice it too. You'd ask why my work was suddenly under a bigger light after I shared the truth. I kept my answers simple. I kept my record safe. I checked my notes because I wanted my side to stay clear. I knew my words and my future mattered. You can understand why I stayed careful, because I didn't want the company to twist my story. The team changed too, as I saw my coworkers get quiet and avoid hard talks. I saw the fear in the room. You could feel the tension. I could feel it every time I entered the office. My old job felt far away. The simple work I loved became a daily fight with stress. My pay was already lower and my worry was much higher. I was doing the same repairs, but I felt like the company saw me as a problem. You might think I was only angry, but I was more worried about what came next. I checked my files, my messages, and my proof again and again. The company still thought I was only one worker. They didn't see the full picture or know how much I'd saved. They didn't know how many people were watching. I went home each day with my thoughts racing. I looked at my family and my notes. I knew my choice had a cost and that the truth changed my life. I was still holding my notes when Monday hit like a truck. I saw the story go live and I felt my phone start to shake because it kept buzzing. My texts filled up fast. My old coworkers wrote me and my lawyer called me twice before I even ate breakfast. I sat there and I read the headline again and again. I knew this was the moment I couldn't take back. You know, feeling when the whole world sees what only you knew? I felt that. I felt my hands go cold and I felt my heart pound hard. I watched the comments grow and I watched my old company's name spread across every screen. I didn't say a word online. I just watched and I waited and I let the truth do its work. By Wednesday, I heard the stock had dropped. I checked the news and I saw the numbers fall fast. I felt strange because I didn't want to hurt people, but I knew the truth had to come out. My phone rang again and it was a reporter this time. I told her my story and I kept my facts straight. I didn't guess or lie. I just told her what I lived. I remember sitting with my wife that night. I told her, I think this is bigger than me now. She squeezed my hand and she said, "You did the right thing, Roy." I believed her, but I still felt shaky inside. Then Friday came and I got the call I didn't expect. My old boss, the big one above Chris, had resigned. I sat down hard when I heard it. I felt my chest tighten and I felt my mind race. I thought about all the years I gave that place. I thought about my pay, my pride, and my truth. I felt proud, but I also felt sick because I knew real people lost real jobs over this. I looked at my notes one more time that night. I looked at my badge sitting on the table. I knew I couldn't go back to being just Roy the tech. I was now Roy, the man who spoke up. I felt the weight of that name, and I felt the fear still sitting in my chest. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew I couldn't stop now. I called my lawyer back that night, and I sat in my truck for the call. I felt my hands shake, but I kept my voice calm. The lawyer said, "Roy, they want to offer you a settlement." I felt my chest tighten, and I asked, "What's the catch?" The catch was an NDA, and I knew what that meant. I'd have to stay quiet forever. I looked at my notes on the seat next to me. I thought about my years of work, my pride, and my truth. I told the lawyer, I need time to think. I didn't want to rush my choice, and I didn't want to sell my truth for a check. The next call came from the company's lawyer. His voice was smooth, but I felt the pressure in every word. He said, "We just want this to end quietly, Roy." I said, "I hear you," and I kept my lines and answers short and careful. I didn't argue or yell, I just listened and let him talk. He offered a number, and I felt my stomach drop because the number was big. I knew that money could fix a lot of my problems. I knew my family could use it, but I also knew the truth mattered more to me than any check. I asked him one question. I said, "If I sign this, do the other techs get their pay fixed too?" He paused, and he said, "This is just about you, Roy." That answer told me everything I needed to know. I knew they didn't care about the team and only cared about my silence. I felt my hands stop shaking and I felt my mind grow clear. I said, "I need to talk to my lawyer again." He said, "Don't wait too long." I said, "I won't." I sat there after the call ended. I looked at my laptop screen and I saw the NDA still open in front of me. I read every line and every word twice, and I knew signing meant the story would stop right here. I knew staying quiet meant the truth would die with me. I thought about Mike, my old coworkers, and the people still working under the same rules. I thought about my own name and my own choice. I closed my laptop slowly. I didn't sign anything that night. I just sat in the dark, and I let the silence hold me. After the truth won, I finally woke up and felt the weight leave my shoulders. I opened my eyes, I saw the sun, and I knew my life was moving again. I had my coffee, my clean desk, and my open window. I looked outside and smiled because I knew I was free. I was no longer waiting for the next call, the next threat, or the next bad surprise. I remember the day the court gave the final answer. I sat there with my lawyer, my notes, and my family. I felt my hands shake, but I knew my facts were strong. The judge saw the records, the proof, and the truth. The company had to answer for what they did. You can imagine how I felt. You can feel the joy when you know your voice was heard. I felt that joy too, but I didn't win because I wanted money. I won because I wanted my name back. I wanted my work, effort, and respect back, and I wanted you to see that one person can stand. I wanted you to know the truth can take time, but the truth can win. After the case, I started my new life and got a new job where my skills were valued. I walked into the office and I felt proud again. I used my speed, my focus, and my experience. The new team saw my work as a gift, not a problem. I could work fast, help people, and enjoy my day. I also started my own small repair business. I built it with my own hands and made the rules fair. I treated people right because I knew the pain of unfair rules. You can understand why this meant so much to me. I wanted my clients to trust me and my team to feel proud. Now, when I look at my old badge, I don't feel anger. I feel strength. I see the lesson and the road I walked. I know my choice was hard, but I know I made the right one. I found my new life, my peace, and my future. You might be facing your own hard moment and feel small. You might feel like your voice doesn't matter, but I want you to remember my story. I was just Roy, one worker with notes and a dream. I stood up, I kept going, and I found my way back. The truth changed my life, and the truth gave me a new start. After the truth came out, I finally saw the light at the end of the road. I was sitting with my coffee, my new work notes, and my phone when I got a message that made my whole day. I saw the name and knew it was Mike, my old coworker. I opened the message and I felt the biggest smile on my face. Mike wrote, "Roy, I need to thank you. I saw you stand when I was too scared. You helped me believe the truth mattered." I read the words again and again. I felt proud, happy, and thankful because I knew the fight wasn't only about me. I knew the work was about every person who felt small, and you can imagine how I felt. You can see why I felt like the weight on my shoulders was finally gone. I was no longer the guy who came home tired from a job where my speed was treated like a problem. I was no longer the worker who felt like the clock was more important than the care I gave. The old place saw my skills as a risk. My new life showed me my skills were a gift. I started my new job, and I felt the difference on my first day. I walked in with my tools, my experience, and my confidence. The team welcomed me, and the boss thanked me. The people around me wanted my ideas. I felt like I could breathe again. You know what felt amazing? I could work fast. I could help clients. I could use my talent without fear. I could finish a job early and feel proud, not worried. The new team saw the value in my work. I also heard from other workers who watched my story. They told me my choice helped them speak up. They told me they felt stronger because I shared the truth. I heard their words and I knew my hard road had a reason. I still think about the old days, but I don't feel stuck there. I look at my badge, my notes, and my past. I see a lesson and growth in the moment when I chose honesty over fear. You might feel like your voice is small and the system is too big, but I want you to know this. I was just Roy, one worker with my notes and my truth. I kept going and trusted myself. I found the respect I lost. The best part of my new life is simple. I wake up, I work hard, and I feel proud. I know my work matters. I know my voice matters. I know you can find your own strength too. After the truth reached my new life, I finally saw the value of my choice. I looked at my old badge and my notes, and I knew you could understand why I kept going. I knew the truth wasn't easy, but I knew my voice mattered. You might feel alone when you see something wrong at the workplace, and you might fear the cost. I felt that fear too, and I knew my fear didn't control my future. I remember the day the final answer came. I sat with my lawyer, my family, and my records. I saw the company admit the problem, and I saw my years of work finally get respect. I knew my fight was never only about my pay. I knew the truth was about the people who work hard and deserve the fair treatment they need. You can see why I felt proud and free. The moment showed me that the truth had power. I got my chance to start again. I found a new job where my skills helped the team. I used my speed, my care, my experience. You can imagine how good it felt when my boss said my fast work was a gift. I knew my talent wasn't a problem. I knew my effort had value. You can feel the difference when you're seen by the right people in the right place. Now I look back, and I know the truth was worth it. I lost my old place, but I found my respect. I lost my comfort, but I found my courage. You might be holding a secret right now. You might be scared that speaking up will change your life. I want you to know I understand that fear. I hadn't carried that fear, but I also found the strength to choose what was right. If you're sitting with a secret, I want you to remember my story. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be a hero. You only need to trust what you know. I was one worker with my notes, my truth, and my voice. You can find your courage too. The small choice you make can become the big change the future needs. If you've ever seen something at work you couldn't unsee, tell me in the comments. I read everyone too.